Hello and welcome to another episode of Connecting with Kinetic. Today I have with me Lindsey Winder, co-founder and CEO at Hedgey. How are you today, Lindsey?
Doing good. Busy here, busy as always, but that's why we're in the space.
Can you give us kind of a general boilerplate? What is Hedgey? Because we're going to have a lot of people who are completely unfamiliar with you guys.
Of course. So we're at our core, we're a token vesting platform. When teams are launching their token and they're distributing tokens to their team, investors, and community, we give them the on-chain tools they use to do that. Some of the basic stuff like vesting plans and cliff dates and schedules, but then we also had a lot more functionality for teams that are on chain, like the ability to vote with locked and unvested tokens and manage things in a very Web3 kind of world.
So before we get into more specifics on that, I want to learn more about you and your background. So how did you get here today?
Wow. Depending on when you want to start, really.
Start as early as you want. What school did you go to?
Sure. I'll start with
what were you interested
moving
in?
to New York. I moved to New York over a decade ago. And originally I was a speech pathologist. I moved here to work birth to 3 autism, home health. That was my kind of like first career, really. I worked in New York City early intervention for many years. And during that time, I would work with kids, and they would actually, the way it works is you do home health every few weeks. They send you new clients in like the neighborhoods you work in, and you go see those kids. I would notice when I would see new patients that they would be waiting for 6 months for someone like me to walk through the door. Meanwhile, I would be spending half my day, looking at my phone on the street, waiting for my next patient. And I realized there was a problem with how people were connecting people like me with people who needed health services. At that time, I had a friend who was working at a company called Jackpocket. It was like 2012, play it lotto on your phone app, but he was in a WeWork, and I was seeing kind of my first exposure to people building startups. I was hanging around a lot, kind of getting immersed in that culture, and I decided to launch a startup. The idea was I wanted to build a company that could cut the time it took to connect healthcare specialists to patients in that industry from 6 months to 2 weeks. I launched my first company and it failed miserably because that's what happens when you don't know what you're doing and you're throwing yourself into tech, and you make a lot of mistakes, and you have hopefully a lot of lessons learned that you carry over. With the second go around, we launched a similar idea, but a lot of lessons learned and almost a completely different approach for how we address the problem, the stakeholders. There's so many lessons you learn, and it was pretty successful. In its first year, I think we onboarded over 95% of the healthcare facilities in New York and helped thousands of kids streamline access to their health services and have these almost immeasurable outcomes, especially because with autism and disabilities like that, the sooner you can work with patients, the more of an impact you have over the course of their life.
Can you give me a little more information on the type of work you would be doing with the kids? I'm just curious.
Oh man, I was a different human then. I was nicer and less neurotic. I would go to patients' houses. I worked in all 5 boroughs, or 4 of the boroughs. I'd go to the Bronx, Harlem, public housing pretty much. And I would go in 3, 4, 5 times a week to the same family. I'd see 8 to 10 families in a day. I would sit on the ground and play with toys with kids. And more importantly, I would show the families how to do the things I was doing so that they could do it when I wasn't there, and embed strategies into like their daily life, whether it's eating, getting dressed, taking a bath, just having things that have a positive impact on children who are diagnosed with autism at 2 and 2.5 to improve eye attention, I haven't done it in so long.
Hand-eye coordination?
No. I was a speech pathologist, so I was doing mostly like eye contact, engaged play, obviously receptive and expressive language, a lot of executive functioning. I'm having to access different parts of my brain now. So we do that kind of stuff. But again, the most frustrating thing is there's so many kids in that program that we're just waiting for someone like me to walk through the door, and it's a free service, great service for the families. And they just weren't getting it because it was like a phone dispatcher system. So I moved away from the services and into tech. I launched one company and then a second company. Second company helped a lot of kids, but health tech is a very hard place to start a business, especially in that time. And my friend of now over a decade and we'd always been interested in crypto. I think it was the 2017 period where there was kind of this layer beyond the innovator profile of people who were into crypto and to people who were just generally more curious, like the Coinbase mooning of ETH kind of like pulled everyone in and made us curious. And we started building around different projects. We, some of the stuff we built a chat-based tip bot, a lot of things around community, seeing how people engage. This was before DAOs were what they are. So it was a lot of just getting involved with communities, seeing what we could build to be valuable in the space with like the technologies at the time. So this was before L2s really were a thing and before a lot of the technologies we have now. And so what brought me here is that we worked with a lot of just friends who were launching companies and seeing just basic problems they were having, whether it was like token investing and like lockups and the stuff we do, or managing their tokens or building treasuries that could sustain their business. They just lack basic access to core token infrastructure. My co-founder Alex was a treasury manager at WeWork for 6 years and JP Morgan before that, and a Solidity engineer. And so we felt like we could build things that weren't just like neat toys people could use, but like actual hardcore financial products that would help the next generation of companies launch and thrive.
So how long has Hedgey existed?
We launched 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. When we launched, we were an options protocol. We launched to allow treasuries to sell covered call options on their native tokens, which, if it goes over someone's head, it goes over mine. But the idea was that at the time, a lot of these treasuries were very rich in their native token, but they weren't diversified. And we just saw that was like a huge problem in a bull market. And so we wanted to build a tool that let these treasuries diversify. Now, as hard as it is to talk about, it's harder to sell that, and especially sell it to a DAO. And so we realized that being new to the space and also just in talking with these teams, that was a problem, but they had so many other problems still. They didn't have kind of awareness of where their tokens were or their unlock schedules, what they could deploy, what they couldn't deploy. The spreadsheets were off. Everything was just kind of broken. And this is the 2020 time. And so we really transitioned over that period to do what we do now, our core products, which are if you're launching an on-chain organization with a token, the first stuff you'll do is you'll set up a treasury and you'll distribute tokens to people who have vesting schedules, whether that's employees or contributors or DAO members. And you'll distribute tokens to investors if you have them, and you'll distribute tokens to your community. And we just create this free public goods token infrastructure. You can use it, I can't stop you, that allows everyone to set up with the right stuff on day one. That's how I got here.
So I'm always curious. So it's, Hedgey's been going for 2 years. How many years does it feel like to you? Does it feel like 2?
It's weird. Some days it feels a lot longer and some days it doesn't feel like it's been, a month. I mean, the months go by very quickly. The stuff we want to do in a month, it flies by. When I look at like how far along the space is in 2 years, in that time, I think like Binance Smart Chain came out with like an EVM and like kind of an EVM, and just like what you could do in the space just was very limited. a lot of the ideas we wanted to pursue, they just weren't possible because like mainnet gas made, microtransactions, all these things not make sense. And now the space is very different, and it's more of an open playground to build anything you want. And I think we're seeing a resurgence of a lot of old financial ideas come back. And I think they're actually not just rehashing failed ideas, but actually building good ideas that just didn't have the right technology at the time.
Right. Getting kind of a synthesis.
Yeah. And I think we're also seeing just emergence of the space with, it's not more legitimate people, but it's more mainstream people being involved and dedicating their life to both building projects in the space, which is massively important, but also just dipping their toe into things seemingly that aren't purely speculative financial things. I love all the social stuff going on right now, and though I'm antisocial, I still follow along a bit with it all.
It's I consider myself fairly antisocial, but it's hard not to get pulled in to so many things. It's just as far as me, it's like it feels like some kind of hyperbolic time chamber. Like so much is happening that it just feels like 1 year takes 5. So it makes me feel like I'm living longer, but I'm also like way more stressed out because it's just constant stimuli.
Totally. I mean, I think about ETH Denver as a nice kind of like benchmark to think of like what's happened in a year. And I remember ETH Denver, we were onboarding our first like vesting users, and we did like the airdrop for ETH Denver last year, and we were kind of just starting to understand like the final state of our products, which is where they are now. And in that period, we've gone from about to bring on kind of our first users to, we do 100 million in grant distributions for Arbitrum, Cello, Treasure DAO, like just so many big orgs use us for their vesting and lockups. And I think we're, moving in the direction of becoming a very useful tool for a lot of protocols building in the space. And it's very different than a year ago. And it's incredible to see what can happen in a year. It makes me very curious about the unknown of the year to come, to be honest.
Yeah, the feeling of a great tipping point, touching on what you were talking about earlier, people dipping their toes. We're not at the level where a lot of institutions are coming in, really, but we are seeing some of that toe dipping going on, and I'm sure on the sidelines, a lot of people are watching to see, if the kid who gets his knee skinned by crypto gets back up, and then maybe they'll come in. So it feels like we're getting there, but you can never know, really.
Yeah, that's why we're here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the potential. Talking more about who you're working with, and what chains are you guys on? Who are some of your partners? You mentioned a few, but I'm sure you have several.
Yeah, we work with quite a few. Let me just plug in my internet here. Apologies. We work with quite a few teams, and I think we're very lucky in that instance where by default we're a self-service platform. So a lot of people who start using us, and then we talk to them as users and just try to help their experience and make them more successful with the product. But over this last year, I mean, what's been cool is diving deeper into ecosystems and just worlds and product spaces that you weren't familiar with. We've been very lucky to work deeply in Arbitrum this past 6 months. And there's so many incredible projects building on Arbitrum. And I think us kind of creating, they did their STIP grants that sent out some Arbitrum to 50 protocols building on the space. We handled it. So we started talking with these teams. So in speaking with those teams, we've just you get overwhelmed by what people are building. It's incredible. And I think it's kind of cemented in my head where we just want to be the thing in the background that helps other people be very successful at what they do. I really think of our products as not the main character. Sorry, I'm breaking up here.
Oh, you're coming in crystal clear for me.
Okay, sorry. If you can hear me, just stop me if you can't.
I
We're
can
good?
hear you. You're good. You're
Okay,
good.
great. Okay, so I lost my train of thought there.
You're the Kramer. You're the
Yeah, that's right. So we push really hard here to not be the main character of the story and be in the background. And in doing that, it's nice just to see teams who are launching and wanting to do very big things. So, back to it, the core stuff I've kind of discovered about Hedgey, of what we are and why we exist. It's all around, we're this kind of tool in the background that these teams were meeting and working with. They use it to do their vesting and their lockups and kind of like boring admin jobs. But it's the kind of stuff you don't want to spend a lot of time on either creating or managing, and the kind of stuff you just need to work perfectly. And what I've discovered is by just providing that to these teams, they're able just to like focus on building really cool stuff that sometimes I don't even understand until like minute 20 of the call. But it's like, I feel really fortunate at Hedgey that we're able to build the tools that let other people get back to building their projects.
So I've heard some rumors. We'll see if you can confirm these. That Hedgey is coming to the Flare network. Is that accurate? Would you say it's accurate?
Yeah, it's accurate. Alex to the side of me says it's live.
Well, you hear that, folks? It's live.
It's live. We are on Flare Network. That's right. We are coming to the network and supporting some cool things coming up.
Some cool things. Do
That's
you
all I
think?
can say, I can't say anything else. I could say that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep it minimal. I think with Kinetic, I've had to keep things fairly minimal because our tokenomics aren't out yet, and our white paper is not out yet. So I'm having to deal with a lot of impatience.
Yeah.
So I hope that the same thing happens to you. My hope is that you also get bothered a lot somehow, even if you're in the background. I hope someone just finds you and says, "Win."
That's right. Yeah, I have enough NDAs floating around where I don't know what I can say and can't say, so I just tend to say nothing.
And that's the perfect guest for an interview, really. Like
I can talk about anything, but that basically.
Well, I mean, let's talk about some other stuff. Personally, I can't imagine being a CEO of anything. Do you get much free time at all? I'm guessing the answer is no.
You don't. I mean, to be honest, at a seed stage level, like if someone is a CEO in their mind and they posture as a CEO, they're kind of like in it for the title. At a seed stage company, we're a team of 7 and we work like a team of like 30. You're everything, and everyone here is everything. And you're one of the builders, and the CEO persona or not persona, but like the role is typically just to make sure you're moving in the right direction, that you lead people to be effective, and to make sure you're funded, they have money in the bank. That's great in theory, but in reality, you're also the person on every sales call. You're the person who's running marketing. You're the person who's doing everything. So being a CEO, do you have time? No, but being at a seed stage startup in general, you don't have time, and that goes for myself and for, the people who hear me saying this out loud right now, who nod their head because they work harder than I do.
Is there anything you do try to make time for? Do you get to have any fun, or are you just grindstone?
No, I mean, I had an older mentor who told me that like you can be exceptional at one thing, great at 2 things, okay at 3 things, and shit at 4. And breaking that down to work, friends, family, health, exercise. And you kind of have to pick those things selectively. I've realized at this level. I'm not at the stage of being like 20 where I can just have one thing and like kill my health and friends and just be obsessed. I'm not like Zuck. But, I think you do have to sacrifice stuff, because if you're going, and I may be wrong here. I'm sure there are many people who tell me the opposite, but, I focus on my family and work and health in that order. And my friends are the people I typically work with. That's why my great friend is my co-founder. And health, I squeeze into the middle of the day. And then I try to make sure that I also enjoy, my family. Or I'm there.
So we're not doing Taco Bell runs.
Yeah, not doing late nighters, hanging out with the friends or watching the Super Bowl, not doing that stuff. You got to sacrifice something. So you just what it is.
I mean, I personally find the Super Bowl pretty boring, so that's an easy one to kind of axe.
Sure.
But gotta keep those late night fast food shoving garbage down my throat times. That's what keeps me going for maybe 5 or 10 more years.
I'm sure, man.
That's the target,
I'm not like one of these like optimizer, whatever, reading like the How to Live for 1,000-Year people.
There's a lot of those.
No, I'm not, and I'm not that. I'm not like just regurgitating shit I read in a book or something. But I just do think of when I'm like the most stressed in my life and feel like I'm failing everywhere, and it's when I'm trying to do too much. And so I'm not like, sorry, I don't have time for this friendship right now. I need to do my health. But I am, prioritizing when I'm either going to go hang out or go to the gym. I just have to know which one I pick. Yeah.
So kind of a closing question. Is there anything you'd like to share with the Flare community? Is there anything they'd like that you would like them to know about you and Hedgey?
I'm really excited to be coming over, honestly. Like, this isn't just adding some like EVM. I think we just started to have some of our first conversations, which I can't really talk about, and dive deeper into like Flare and what it's about and the people building over there. And I'm really excited to be going live to just kind of find like a group of people trying to build incredible things, become part of their story, like the background part of it. And just I love meeting new people who are building incredible things. I'm consistently blown away, and I feel like the builders on Flare are a group of people that I haven't met and I am going to be blown away by. So that's it. And I want people to reach out to me and blow my mind.
I mean, that's all we can hope for at the end of the day. And I think Flare is going to deliver in that respect. We're happy to have you in the community, happy to receive you with open, strong arms, pull you in, give you a hug. Maybe someone will be really annoying to you, but otherwise, I think we'll be ready for you in a positive way. But thank you so much for your time. Love chatting with you, and hope to talk again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake. Bye now.